Hey, Vistista here. Welcome back to the VDL. Here we are for week 3 of the VDL against the New York Metronomes. Um, the Metronomes are currently 1-1, and let's look at the matchup. So their team is terrifying to say the least. They have Aerodactyl, which has Unnerve, which is incredibly good, and has rock stab coverage for my entire team. They have Urshifu, which outspeeds a vast majority of my team, has stab close combat, which massively destroys a huge portion of my team. They have Bronzong, which is a very good trick room setter. Still psychic coverage. It also has Iron Defense body press stuff, which can offensively deal massive damage to my team, but also defensively be very hard for me to deal with, especially with its ability of levitate or heat proof, allowing it to be immune to ground or resist fire, which deals with most of my main answers to the Bronzong. In addition, Clefairy supporting any of those Pokemon can be really tricky for me because I can't really effectively deal with them, and Clefairy can either protect, follow me, and just make them very difficult to kill with the Friend Guard follow me support. Other than that, some of the Pokemon I am somewhat concerned with is Heatmore. Offensively, it's a Firemon, does good damage. It can be pretty bulky, especially if you give it something like an AV. Kingler is a mon that offensively is very concerning into my team. However, if I can hit it with a good, strong special move, I should be able to deal with it. And then finally, Manectric. Manectric, if you run it with Scarf, can run Flamethrower Overheat and can threaten a large proportion of my team. In addition, outspeeding almost all of my Scarf mons, specifically Darmanitan, which has been one of my main Scarfers this season so far. So with that, let's get the team I decided to bring. So here's my team. So looking at first, we have the Mr. Rhyme. Mr. Rhyme, we got Fake Out, Trick Room, Ice Beam, and Shadow Ball. I considered Freeze Dry to hit the Kingler, but I decided to go with this set. The Cobra Berry is so I can survive a Wicked Blow from Urshifu. In addition to that, I have the Trick Room to either undo the Trick Room if they set up with Bronzong, or to set the Trick Room if they get something up like Tailwind with the Aerodactyl. Next, we have Scarf Ninetales. Scarf Ninetales, just the idea is that it can outspeed Scarf Manectric, outspeed Scarf Urshifu. It threatens to one-shot Urshifu with Dazzling Gleam and or Moonblast. The reason why I have Moonblast and Dazzling Gleam is one, for possible wide guards from Aerodactyl, and two, Moonblast one-shots an Urshifu through a Roselia berry, whereas Dazzling Gleam does not kill an Urshifu if it has the Roselia berry. Other than that, we just have Blizzard just for some good spread um, stab damage, and then finally Dark Pulse specifically for Bronzong. Below that, we have the Rotom. Rotom this week is incredibly bulky. It's pretty much max HP, max defense, so it can survive a close combat from Urshifu. In addition, it has Will-O-Wisp to burn the Bronzong and the Urshifu. It has Hex after you burn it, so it can do massive damage into Bronzong with that. And then we have Thunderbolt just for some good damage, and Electro Whip for a little bit of speed control. Below that, we have the Assault Vest Glacier. So Glacier is mainly there as a counter for their Trick Room mode if they set up Trick Room, because it's min speed and it underspeeds their entire team. In addition, I can set it up my own Trick Room if I want to. It should threaten to one shot most Clefairies. In addition, we have Crunch in case the Bronzong is Levitate and it gets good damage there. And the rest of the coverage is just for hitting other mons like Aerodactyl and Heatmore. Next, we have the Bronzong. We have Fake Out, Faint. The obviously Fake Out. The Faint is for read and protects, but the big one honestly is for two reasons: one, to have a priority move in Trick Room, and two, to be able to destroy Wide Guard in case I'm locked into an Dazzling Gleam or Blizzard with my Ninetales. I don't want them to be able to just Wide Guard it away. We have Night Slash over Throat Chop specifically because it has the increased crit chance. So we might be able to crit through an Iron defense on a Bronzong. And finally, Triple Axle just because it does so much damage. And finally, we have Choice Band Arctivish. The reason behind the Choice Band is so that Vicious Rend can one-shot an Urshifu if it outspeeds. In addition, Icicle Spear should be able to kill an Aerodactyl through a Yachi Berry. And so those are kind of the main ideas. We have Slush Rush. So in the hell, I should outspeed everything on their team that's not scarfed. And with that, we can kind of just threaten some of their fast modes, namely something like an Urshifu or Aerodactyl lead. But with that, let's get into the match. So here we are for game one. So looking at my opponent's team, they have a lot of what I was expecting. The only thing I don't see that I was somewhat expecting is possibly Metric. So with this, the main question is do I think they're going to lead something like the Aerodactyl, the Bronze Song, or or maybe like the Urshifu Aerodactyl or the Bronze Song Clefairy. I think those are kind of some of the main possible leads I can imagine. So I really like the Arctivish and the Ninetales specifically if they lead anything with the Aerodactyl. And so I decided to lead those two and then leave my Glastrier and Mr. Rime in the back in case they get Trick Room up. So with the Clefairy and Bronzong both being brought, I definitely think that there's a good chance that they're going to have some sort of Trick Room component, and that's one of the reasons why I like those in the back. And the Arctivish and Ninetales specifically can deal with pretty much anything that isn't Trick Room mode. So with that, let's get into the match. So my opponent leads Aerodactyl Urshifu, which is a perfect lead for my lead. I'm incredibly happy with this. So first they actually reveal Unnerve, and this is a little bit stressful because Unnerve is one of those weird abilities that technically goes before my ice, before I set up the Hell. So I don't actually know if it's a Scarf or not. However, with this, I decided to just go for the safe Fishious Red into Aerodactyl and Moonblast into Urshifu. Moonblast should kill Urshifu even if it's a Roselli Berry, and then the Fishious Red should kill Aerodactyl even if it's a Pasho Berry. And so here I'm just debating of whether or not I should read into anything else, but I just go for that attack because I think it's pretty safe. So they withdraw the Urshifu into a Bronzong, and so this is pretty fine for me, especially the Moonblast is not going to do much damage into the Bronzong. It ends up doing, maybe 10%. But however, the Fishious Wren does in fact outspeed the Aerodactyl and get a clean kill on it. So this shows that the Aerodactyl is both not Focus Sash and not a Pasho Berry, so that's pretty good. However, the Bronzong here is now in front of both my Pokemon, and if they have Clefairy in the back, then they have a pretty clean Trick Room by Follow Me, which they do reveal to be Clefairy. And so here I'm pretty fine with them setting up Trick Room, and I just go for a Fishious Wren into the Bronzong in case they don't follow me, and we switch into Glastrier as a way to punish them from setting up Trick Room because Glastrier underspeeds Bronzong. So I end up switching into the Glastrier, and they end up going for a Follow Me as expected, which is the pretty obvious play. And in addition to that, the Fishious Wren goes into the Clefairy, which ends up not doing the double damage because Follow Me did go first, and they get up Trick Room. And so, though they got up Trick Room, which is what they wanted, because I switched in Glastrier, I feel like I'm in a very good position. And so here, obviously, I'm just going to Fishious Wren into Bronzong. The main question is, do I want to go for a Heavy Slam to Clefairy in case they follow me, or go for a Crunch in case they protect? And I decided to go for the Heavy Slam because I think Follow Me would punish me a lot more than if they protect here. They end up going for the Protect and Clefairy, which obviously makes my play a little bit awkward with the Heavy Slam. But like I said, this was calculated. I'm not too upset with it. And they were able to get a Body Press into the Glastrier, which very nicely ends up not being a 2-hit KO, which is really big. And we're able to get a little bit of chip damage with a Fishious Wren into the Bronzong. However, it looks like I probably won't get another kill if I hit it with another one. But probably will kill if I hit it with one with Clefairy being gone. So here I'm just debating between keeping in the Arctivish or switching out into Mr. Rime. Switching out into Mr. Rime lets me Fake Out, which I think is probably the very useful here. And so with that, I decide to switch out into the Mr. Rime and just go for the Heavy Slam, killing the Clefairy. And so we get the Mr. Rime out, and they go for a Helping Hand, which is really awkward because this means if they hit me with the Body Press, they can actually kill the Glastrier despite it doing less than 50% the first time. And so we get the Heavy Slam, killing the Clefairy. But however, I do get a Chilling Aid, which gives me a +1 attack with my Glastrier. However, Body Slam does not go into Glastrier. It goes into the Arctivish slot, which ended up being Mr. Rime, which is great because now I have Glastrier with Trick Room at +1, and my Mr. Rime came in for very, fairly nicely because it does not take super effective damage from that Body Press. And so now they have Urshifu, and They are in trick room, so it's very good. And so we just have a pretty clean fake out and crunch. The crunch should easily kill Bronzong here, and the fake out will make sure Urshifu can't deal any damage. So Urshifu protects, so to prevent any damage into it and maybe a fake out. So we do get the fake out that gets blocked by it. However, they do not block the Bronzong, and the crunch here ends up killing the Bronzong, giving me another Chilling Nay boost. So I'm at +2 attack now. And in addition, we still have another turn of Trick Room, and they just protected the Urshifu, so I'm in amazing position, in addition to the fact that I still have 2 Pokemon in the back. So this game is almost completely over. And so here, I just go for 2 100% accurate moves, and Ice Beam into the Urshifu, and the Icicle Spear into the Urshifu. Because they just protected, I'm pretty much guaranteed to get the kill here. The only really out is going for the double protect, which they luckily hit. This is not that big of a deal in any aspect except for revealing information and the differential. Now there's a good chance that they're able to get 1 kill rather than me winning 4-0. In addition, we might be able to see a little bit of reveal my item, because if they go into the Mr. Rhyme, they will show that I'm Colberberry. So here, let's go for the Wicked Blow into the Mr. Rhyme, which, like I mentioned, is a little bit awkward because it does reveal a little bit more information on my set, specifically that my Mr. Rhyme has the Colberberry. So, not that end of the world, but here, if I hit a lot of Icicle Spears, I should get the kill. If not, I just bring in Ninetales and kill them with a Moonblast. And so here we see that we're doing about, even at +2 attack, we need to hit 4 times to kill with Icicle Spear. However, luckily we do hit 4 times. Honestly speaking, the 4 times didn't really matter too much because Ninetales is in the back. However, it doesn't hurt. And so with that, let's get to game 2. Here for game 2. So based on how game 1 went, I definitely don't expect them to lead the same lead. I expect them to try to switch it up. And so I'm just debating on how I think they're going to switch it up. I'm expecting them to lean more Trick Room, because the Aerodactyl and and Urshifu ended up not doing much. And so I'm expecting something like maybe a Clefairy Bronzong League with something like Heatmore and Kingler in the back. And so some of my better answers to a Bronzong Clefairy lead is something like Weavile and Rotom, especially because I don't think that Bronzong has Protect, based on them not protecting the turn I crunched into him in the previous game. And so I like the Weavile Rotom lead just to kind of deal with the Clefairy and Bronzong lead. And the main question is, what do I want at the back? And I think Mr. Rhyme definitely seems appropriate in the back as a means to remove Trick Room, or and just as another fake out mon. And so the big question is what do I want at the last mon? I think that Ninetales, Glastrier are the main options. I don't think I'm going to run Arctovish, especially if I don't bring Ninetales and Arctovish together. And so the plus side of Glastrier is if they do set up Trick Room, it's better. And Ninetales, if I can prevent Trick Room, is a lot better. And so those are kind of the big options. And so I decided to go I considered changing, but running low in time, and I decided to go with Ninetales. But with that, let's get into the match. So they end up breeding Aerodactyl Bronzong, which is a little bit different than what I was expecting, but not the end of the world. And so here, there's a couple of things I could do. The big ones are, Fake Out Thunderbolt, Fake Out Will-O-Wisp are the kind of big options. However, I don't know if they're going to go for Trick Room or Tailwind, or just attack for both. And so I decided to just go for, kind of just the more offensive move, which is go for the kill on Aerodactyl with the triple axle and the Will-O-Wisp into Bronzong. I considered doing something like fake out Electro Web, or fake out Thunderbolt, or fake out Will-O-Wisp, but I think this is kind of the safest play to kind of just hurt both of these Pokemon on field. So they end up protecting the Aerodactyl, but they also protect the Bronzong. So let's go for the double protect as a means to bait out / end the fake out that I might do. However, I didn't go for fake out, so basically this is just identifying a little bit of information of what I might be trying to do into my attacks. And so here I debate on a couple of options. Maybe I do Night Slash into the Bronzong, maybe I try to switch out, but here I decided to just go for the exact same turn, which is a triple axle into the Aerodactyl and a Will-O-Wisp into the Bronzong. I could definitely see some justification of doing maybe a Thunderbolt into the Aerodactyl in case I don't get the kill, or Thunderbolt or um, Hex into the Bronzong to get a little bit of chip damage, but I think this is a pretty safe play. And so they end up withdrawing the Bronzong into the Heatmore. So this could definitely be a really annoying thing if it happens to be Flash Fire, because it could get a Flash Fire boost, which would then make its damage output very hard for me to deal with. The Aerodactyl just goes for a Rock Slide here, and the Triple Axle ends up going to the Aerodactyl. The Aerodactyl reveals its Yachi Berry, which is relevant if we end up having a Game 3 here. But because I am able to get all 3 hits with my Triple Axle, I am able to kill it even though it had the Yachi Berry. However, luckily for me, I actually get flinched with this Rock Slide, which means I don't. If it was Flash Fire, I would not have activated it, which is actually very big. And so they bring back out Bronzong, and so here, the big question is whether or not I think who's the bigger threat based on what's in the back. I know I have Ninetales in the back, and I have Mr. Rime in the back. So I could definitely see the argument that Heatmore is the bigger threat, and so that's why I think I might want to do a Night Slash into that threat, especially if I can get a Will-O-Wisp off into Bronzong, preventing it from dealing too much damage and threatening either my Pokemon offensively. And so we go for the Will-O-Wisp into the Bronzong. Heatmore ends up going for the Protect, which is honestly not too big of a deal for me. As you know, the Night Slash does get blocked, but it doesn't matter too much, and we're able to connect a Will-O-Wisp, which not only does some passive damage to the Bronzong, it dramatically lowers its damage output. And here we can see that in effect when they go for a Body Breath, which does very little damage, and with my Citrus Berry, it likely does not kill me even if it hits 2 more times. And so here I decide to just go for max damage into the Heatmore. The Bronzong is not particularly concerning to me anymore, especially because it's burned. And so I just go for the Night Slash and the Thunderbolt into the Heatmore to do max damage. I consider doing a little bit of damage to the Bronzong, but Bronzong, like I said, is not that big of a deal if it's burned. And so they end up not protecting with either, but we go for the double up. The Night Slash does a little bit over 50%, and then the Thunderbolt just barely misses out on the KO. Sadly, if that Night Slash was a throat stop instead, I would have gotten the kill. However, with the Heat Wave, they were able to get the double kill. I think that the crit on the Heat Wave actually mattered. However, it's not that big of a deal because the Iron Head would have ended up finishing it off. So now we just have to bring in our last 2 Mons, which are Mr. Rime and Ninetales. So the Mr. Rime, the play is pretty obvious. The plan is just to fake out into the Bronzong, prevent it from setting up Shook Room, or Bronzong from setting up Shook Room or anything like else. And the Hell can do a little bit of chip damage to the Bronzong, whittling it down. The main question is, do I want to set up, or what do I want to lock into with my Choice Scarf on my Ninetales? So the Dark Pulse is best to hit Bronzong. The Blizzard and the Moonblast are both very viable if depending on what's in the back. And so it's very much kind of depends on what I expect to see in the back. If I'm expecting something like Kingler, then Dark Blast is probably the most consistent. If I'm expecting something like Urshifu, then I definitely need to go with Moonblast. And so with this, I go with Moonblast because it is a stab damage, so it is going to do pretty good damage into no matter what. So they end up going for the double protect, which makes some amount of sense to prevent fake out, which I did end up clicking. And here we get a little bit of chip though with the Hell, despite them not letting me do any physical damage with my own moves. We're kind of in this awkward position where Bronzong, or not Heatmore, though it's going to die next turn from Hell. I feel the need to actually attack it because I don't want to take a Heat Wave from my 2 Pokemon. And so I just go for the Moonblast into the Heatmore and the Shadow Ball into the Bronzong in order to get a little damage into the Bronzong. So we are able to kill up the Heatmore with the Moonblast, and we're able to get a Shadow Ball into the Bronzong. We get a crit, which ends up doing literally nothing. And the Shadow Ball should do pretty good damage into the Bronzong here. And we see that it looks like another one should probably kill it. However, Bronzong is able to set up Shook Room, which is pretty bad for my Ninetales. However, my Mr. Rime is in pretty good shape even with the Trick Room setting up, because it should outspeed almost anything in the back. And the last one that is revealed is to be the Urshifu. And so this ends up being a little bit of a tricky situation, because if they protect the Urshifu, it could be really awkward. However, if they don't protect the Urshifu, I'm in. It could also be awkward if I decide to attack the Bronzong. And so here the big question is what am I, what do I need to kind of do to figure out an optimal end condition? And so if Ice Beam two shots Urshifu, I think I have a pretty clean win here, because if I can kill it in 2 hits, I should be able to take a couple of body presses from Bronzong. And so here the Moonblast is just debating between Urshifu and Bronzong. I decided to go for the Urshifu, even though I think that's probably a mistake. I probably should have gone for the Bronzong, because with the Moonblast and the Hell and the Burn, that probably kills Bronzong, and it would be a way to punish a protect Urshifu. However, they don't protect. The Iron Head of Bronzong goes into the Ninetales, and I'm able to get an Ice Beam off into Urshifu as well. And they end up having to double up into the Ninetales, which ends up putting me in a great position, despite killing my Ninetales before it can move. So we see here that with Hell and the burn damage, that it looks like Bronzong's probably going to die from Hell and Burn next turn. And so we have a pretty safe play to just Ice Beam into the Urshifu, because we have 3 turns left to Trick Room. And with this, we pretty much should be able to win. Yeah, we should be able to win. This game should be pretty wrapped up, because I should take a Wicked Blow because of the Colbur Berry. So they end up protecting the Urshifu. And so protecting here and setting up a Trick Room, I think, is the best play. However, the Iron Head could flinch, and so I think, honestly, attacking and Iron Heading, or attacking with Urshifu and Iron Heading with the Bronzong probably would have been better, because now with the Hell and Burn damage, the Bronzong is going to die. And so now I'm just, pretty much the game is over. I think Iron Head Wicked Blow was probably the best, but other than that, maybe Protect and Trick Room was the other play. But the play they kind of did just kind of guaranteed I win the game, because I underspeed them in Trick Room. I have Icy Wind, or Ice Beam, that it should kill from this range, and the Colbur Berry prevents them from killing me with something like Sucker Punch. They go for the double Protect, and I'm able to get the kill because it fails. And with that, we're able to get our first win of the season. So now I am at 1-2. At +0 technically on my games specifically, and so I'm pretty happy with this. The matchup went really well. I was very concerned with this match. It took me a lot of time in prep to feel confident, but with that, I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and hopefully, this is a good start for the rest of the season.